Okay, for this problem we're going to be asked to solve what's called a quadratic equation. So first we notice we've got an equation. It's a quadratic because the highest power on x here is 2. Alright, now to solve a quadratic equation, we're going to move everything to one side. So I'm going to subtract 3 on both sides. And by doing so, right, subtracting 3, it goes away. I get 0 on the right. Over here we're going to have 2x squared minus x minus 3. Now, for this particular problem, I'm going to use a technique called factoring in order to solve this. So what we're going to do is try and take this quadratic right here and factor it. Now, depending on what your background is, some of you can factor that real easily, some of you might have some trouble. So let me show you a real quick way in how to factor something like that. It's called the AC method. So what you do first is you take the number in front of x squared and you multiply it by the number in the back. So I do 2 times negative 3, and that gives me negative 6. Then I take the number that's in front of x. Here, the number in front of x is negative 1. And what we need to do is we need to come up with two numbers that multiply to be this, okay? Multiply to be this, but add up to be this. So now you have to sit there and you have to think, what two numbers will do that? Well, it turns out that 2 and negative 3 are the numbers, right? 2 times negative 3 is negative 6, and 2 plus negative 3 is negative 1. So these are our numbers. So what you do with those now is you come over here, you draw two sets of parentheses. By the way, this technique will always work, okay? So just follow it carefully. What you do now is you take your two numbers. Here's 2. Here's 3. It's minus 3, so and it was positive 2, so I put my 2 plus 2 here, minus 3 here. Then what you do is in front you put x, and here you put x, and then there's one additional very important step. You must go back and you must look at the original equation and look at the number that's in front, 2. You take this 2 and you divide each of these numbers by 2. So I'm going to take this, divide it by 2, take that and divide it by 2. Now if there wasn't a number out here, there would really be like a 1, and dividing each of these by 1 wouldn't change anything. So the special case is when you have 1, but this is the more general way to do it. Now what you do is you reduce the fraction if you can. 2 over 2 is 1. And over here, if you cannot reduce the fraction, what you have to do is you have to take this denominator and you have to swing it in front of the x. So I put 2x minus, now there's no more 2 down there, 3. And that may seem very strange to you, but that's the AC method and it works. So you can check now, if you were to FOIL this back out, you should get your original left side here. So now that we have it factored, we have multiplication here, what we do is we set each factor equal to 0. So I take x plus 1, set it equal to 0. Then the other one, 2x minus 3, I set that equal to 0. And now what I do is just solve each of these linear equations for x. So I'll subtract 1 on both sides there. I get x is equal to negative 1. And the other solution, I add 3 to both sides. And now I divide by 2. And I get 3 halves. So the two solutions to this original quadratic equation are the values x is negative 1 and x is 3 halves.